Good news can often get overlooked or buried by the negative in our everyday lives. So let's change that. I'm Adrianna.
And I'm Wyatt.
We're just two ordinary people without any special qualifications trying to navigate life. We invite you to join us as we share wholesome stories, news articles of hope, and ideas about how we can all make the world just a little bit brighter. We are Uplifting Positive Stories. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Uplifting Positive Stories. We're so glad that you've joined us.
Yeah, glad to be here for episode 3 now.
So, the theme of today's episode is unique ways that we can give back to our communities. And just simple little things that don't necessarily require money, but just little things that we can do to make the world a little bit better. So, to start off, I found a Reddit story, again on the subreddit, what's the most wholesome experience you've had? So yeah, I guess I'll just get right into it.
I'm excited. I enjoy these ones. I like this thread. I've only heard 2 stories from the thread so far, but they've been good.
It's a really good thread. The story goes, I moved 1,000 miles away from everything I knew after graduating college 16 years ago. Back then, I was pretty homesick, struggling in my career and figuring things out, so I felt pretty lost in life. One day, I was walking around downtown Orlando when an older man, probably in his mid-80s, stopped me. He handed a piece of paper to me that he was carrying and said, "You seem like a good person with a good heart. It'll be all right." Then he just walked away. Looking down, that piece of paper was a copy of a handwritten page by him filled with dozens and dozens of sayings, illustrations, and quotes from all over the world regarding love and hope. Tears came immediately, and I put it away to read later that day. It stayed on my wall in my home for the better part of 10 years until I moved again. Now it's been 16 years since then, and sure, he's moved on to the next world by now. I still have that page, take it out occasionally, and think about that wonderful man from many years ago who taught me about pure and genuine random acts of kindness, right along with love and hope. He was an absolute blessing to me and to our world. Thank you, good sir. You were a beautiful soul. Edit. Thank you so much for all these awards and acknowledging this man and his heart. I'm so deeply honored to have been able to share his memory with you all and how he changed my outlook on life. With the state that everything is in now, I can't tell you how much I needed to both share this compassionate moment and also remember it myself. I'll try to post the page as soon as I can pull it out from storage, but it may take me a little bit. You all deserve to hear those words too. Remember, no matter what happens in our lives, hope and love will always prevail. Hugs. Someone commented on the post saying, "My uncle used to do that, except in Mexico. He was elderly, and the only job he could get in his old age was as a cart wrangler for grocery stores. He would take whatever tips he'd receive and use it to make little half sheets of encouragement and well-wishing and hand them out at random. He passed 2 years ago. I miss him every day."
Well, that's kind of sweet. I don't know. That's so... It almost feels unreal. Like, it is. I mean, I'm sure it is, but, like, I never had anything like that happen to me. I've never done anything like that to anybody. So that's just, it sounds like this is a sweet moment in like a TV show or a movie or something. Like, you know, the character's having like a really rough day, having a rough go of it, and then someone just does a random act of kindness, you know?
Yeah, and it's something so simple, right? It's not even like, you know, you often think, you know, people handing out money to people or things like that or making a grand gesture, but this guy literally just sat down and wrote a page of cool quotes that resonated with him and sayings that he knew that maybe cheered him up in a moment that he was having a rough day, and decided to share that with somebody on the street, sounds like. So that's just, I don't know, it just really hit me that sometimes the littlest things can mean the most, and we can give back to our communities in ways that are really pretty simple, you know? It wouldn't take much to sit down and find some quotes that resonate with you and then just give it to a stranger, you know? But yeah, and how much that touched this person. And that they hung on to it for that long.
Well, I mean, especially given, like, you know, she's far away from home, feeling homesick, you know, it's really easy to feel alone in that time period. Not that we've ever had that issue. We've pretty much lived where we grew up for the most part. Working in the career I've worked with a lot of people who have like traveled from all over the country, and like that is a common struggle I see with them, like missing home and like trying to like find themselves outside of home in this new area. You know, it's hard. it's hard to feel that connection away from home. And so like to have that connection from a random stranger, that's, even if it's like a little thing, like a note that maybe it's not, I'd hope actually it's not personalized because they don't know you, but that's still like an act of just compassion,
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
They didn't ask for anything. They just gave it to them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You never know what people are dealing with, You don't know. He obviously didn't know, I'm sure, that this person was missing home and stuff. So, I mean, I think we all have our own things that we're dealing with that, maybe big or small, that might be on our mind at any given moment in the day. And so we could be walking down the street thinking about something bad that happened at work or things like that. So, for someone to do that out of the blue, it's just a little pick me up to get you through the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I like to think that I would do something like that, but it's hard to like, I'd be so scared of like offending somebody with an act like that. Like, what do you think, I need this or something, But like, I don't know. I don't think that's a good enough reason to not
Right,
show compassion. I'm just speaking to the anxieties that I would have with trying to do something like that.
Yeah, I feel like we all think that, and I think we all kind of worry that to some degree, you don't want to be weird. I think there's this fear of being weird. But at the end of the day, I don't think, for me at least, that if that happened to me, I would be like, oh, that person's weird. I would think, wow, that was really sweet. I don't think there's any scenario necessarily with this story in particular that I would look at that and go, okay, weirdo, or, oh, I'm offended,
Yeah.
It's just a genuinely nice, wholesome gesture that's super simple but super sweet. I think by putting ourselves in someone else's shoes and thinking, would I appreciate that if a stranger did that to me? I think that helps us to sort through what might be a weird thing to do or something that might take someone aback, and what most people would probably find uplifting in some way. So that's an awesome, awesome idea that this person had of a random act of kindness. Our article for today is another one that's kind of like that, maybe a little more grand in gesture, but it's something that I think could be applied in a lot of other scenarios, a lot of other areas, and that is using our gifts or talents that we have to help the general community. So this story is entitled, Utah Woman Ensures Shelter Pets Are Picture Perfect for Adoption. It's from Fox 13 in Utah. The story says that a woman named Liz Dranow, who owns a professional pet photography business called Time Punk Pet Photography.
That's a fun name.
Right? Takes her own camera equipment to Salt Lake County Animal Services, and she works with dogs there, taking their pictures. So she sets up a background. It's kind of it sounds like she'll theme it to whatever the season is. The reporters for this article were there around Valentine's Day, it looks like. So they had red draping with hearts behind all the animals. And she sits there and she tries to get the best picture she can of each animal. And then they post them to the website. The article says, "It's very helpful for people to see the real dog," said Kiera Packer, the facility's special services coordinator. "Not the dog that just came into the shelter and is unsure of where it's at and that's in a kennel or cages. You get to see their personality a little bit more." Yeah, essentially, she goes in there for 2 hours and takes pictures of all the animals, and then she heads out for the day. And apparently, since she started doing this, the dogs are quickly adopted after their photos debut on the website. I mean, I guess that makes sense if you're taking, the time to put a cute backdrop behind them and like set them up just so you get like the best possible image you can of the pet. Obviously, it's going to look a little more appealing than some sad dogs in a cage. You know what I mean? And so, or dogs and cats in a cage.
Are you saying that In the Arms of the Angels doesn't get you moving as much as as the cute photos?
I'm sure it does, but it's cool. Like, they're saying that they get to capture the personality of the pet a bit more, it sounds like, which is really cool. But yeah, apparently Liz has been taking photos of these pets for about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm
she
not
must
sure
have a good system in that point. Because when you first said it takes 2 hours, I honestly thought that seems kind of short. Like I don't feel like dogs are an easy subject to arrange in position when you're trying to make it look nice and cute like that and thematic, But I guess if you're doing it for 10 years, I guess that you kind of get a rhythm or a groove after a while.
Right, exactly. But yeah, and It says here at the bottom of the article, the 2 dogs who were photographed while Fox 13 news cameras were at the shelter, Madison and Bandit, were adopted before the story aired. So obviously they go pretty quick after the photos get posted. So that's awesome. I mean, what a cool way to promote the animal shelter. What a cool way to give your talents to something like that. I mean, obviously that's a lot of time that she's invested, but just to see that, you know, she was able to take her skill that she had and find a way to help her community out is just amazing.
No, that's really cool. Like to see how you can use your creative passions to, you know, give back in a way. And that's like not easy work either.
No.
Like I said, wrangling the dogs alone would be pretty challenging, let alone like, you know, take a good actual photo and then edit it. I'm assuming she's editing them.
He looks like it, yeah. They're very nice photos for sure.
Mm-hmm. Does the article include any photos of the photos, like of Bandit or...
It sure does, which is why I will link this down in the description. They are adorable. Like I said...
What kind of dog is Bandit? And the other
that's
one.
a good question. Let me look. I think
you have the article, so I
German
can't look
Shepherd.
at it right now.
Let me look.
It's a
Oh
German
no,
Shepherd. Oh.
I don't know. They have 6 pets listed. Their photos. Looks like there's a husky, maybe some pit bulls. It looks like. Yeah, they're pretty cute.
They're probably well adopted by the point of this podcast.
Well, that's what they said. They said that the 2 dogs that were there while she was taking the photos are gone, so they are already adopted. So. Yeah, what a cool story of someone volunteering their time and their talent into something. And yeah, just a cool way to give back. Are there any ways that you've thought about giving back that might be something not like monetary, but either utilizing one of your skills or just doing like a simple thing?
I mean, one thing I know we did do once, which we talked about in a previous episode, was that animal shelter that had a fundraising event with the trying to raise money for a catio or cat patio. We were in college at the time, and we basically more or less volunteered our time to make a promotional video for them to play at the event. On one hand, it was like we were in college and we were learning the craft of video making and such, and like we were applying those skills there. But it was all like we gave up our time and like for like no monetary return, and we got to meet all these cute dogs and cats and such. And like, so that was one way I know we had done, you know, maybe like utilizing our talents like that in not too dissimilar ways from the photographer, just, you know, for video. It's just hard to like, I feel like there's always like excuses of like, oh, adult life getting in the way and such. And like, oh, it just feels like an extension of work, you know, but yeah, I feel like doing things like that. I feel like I know we had a lot of joy doing that video for them. And like, again, to see the immediate success. I don't know if that was because of the video, but it might have just been because they like dogs and cats. They would have done it regardless. But I mean, like if you contribute a little bit, like that was still pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of cool opportunities out there too. I feel like that if you just go looking even a little bit, you'll find plenty of volunteer opportunities that could be even just like a one-time thing where you can go in for give up a couple hours and make a huge impact. I know there's Feed My Starving Children. There's often soup kitchens in most cities that can help out a lot. So, I mean, even just small things like that and just volunteering a couple hours to go in and help at those places can have such a huge impact that we don't fully realize. And just carving that time out to give back in that way can, like I said, it can be huge.
Mm-hmm. Speaking more on things that I've like witnessed others do, I feel like a lot of that came out more during the pandemic. When I was working in TV news, I was working on a series that was all about how people in the area were stepping up, people, organizations, whatever, to like help others during, you know, the time of the lockdowns and everyone's in a negative place. And one off the top of my head that I can think of that relates to a teacher's knack for art. I don't remember what he taught, but he essentially, because, you know, high school was wrapping up for the year and students weren't able to gather and such, and all classes were virtual. But he liked to paint and draw, and so he made these little like tiny little canvas individual art pieces for all of the seniors. They're all individualized, so it was like the kid who loves video games, so like Mario and Luigi, you know, the one that was like obsessed with football, so I had like Minnesota Vikings and stuff, and a big old football, and like they were each individualized. He made dozens of these for all the graduating seniors that they were able to come collect individually outside, distanced and masked, but they all got this individual gift. And so like he just took his own time outside of normal teaching to just make these homemade gifts to them, essentially, to send them off for the year. And that was a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, that's such a cool way to show these students that he like really saw them too, you know? Because I feel like you wonder, you know, do people in your life really understand you, or what you really, you know, what makes you you, you know? And so to see that the teacher not only took his time and talent, but also paid attention to these students and really got to know them, to be able to know what would resonate with them in their image. That's such a cool story. If you have cool ideas of ways that people can give back to their community, whether it be time or talents or just simple gestures, feel free to reach out to us at upliftingpositivestories@gmail.com and share them with us, and we will share them on a future podcast episode.
And we also have a Facebook group as well that you can join and share stories there that can also maybe be featured on the podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us once again, and have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.